Teacher Zyrus and welcome back to our channel. So today we will continue our discussions, no? So in relation with the main learning theories in education. So last episode, we discussed about the cognitive learning theory, and today we will discuss the second theory of education, which is behaviorism. As we all know that behaviorism is connection with reinforcement. So with the use of reinforcement, it can help us to remember. So if that is behaviorism. One of the main isa sa mga kilalang theories about behaviorism is about Kang Pavlov. So especially the Pavlov dogs experiment. Through Pavlov's dog experiments can help us understand na if you will teach a person in a positive way or with reward, so mas maiing that the brains of everyone is if we will talk about reward or token, if we will perfectly execute the things that being taught by a person, so can help boost students, mas porsigido ang estudyante na matuto if merong reward or token. So after the lesson, so teachers should have a right balance of repeating in giving information. So that's why kaya nga na dapat nating ulit-ulitin ang ating discussions. So kaya nga minsan nakakairita kasi students cannot cope up easily. So especially if our lessons is a bit hard or a bit fast for them. So that's why we need to cope up with them. So kaya in behaviorism theory, so teachers are encouraged na ulit-ulitin ang ideas or ulit-ulitin ang lesson so that the students can cope up with. So aside of giving tokens and positive reinforcement, so dapat na ulit-ulitin natin ang pagbibigay ng the same information. So for example, if we'll talk about Pavlov's dog experiment, so we will give it 3 or 4 times so during the discussion. So in order na all students can cope up with the lesson proper. So that is very important. But some of us are hesitant to do that kasi it is based kasi sa perception ng isang bata. So if a student is fast learner, so syempre, may irita siya, bakit si teacher pa ulit-ulit sa pag-discuss o pagbibigay ng the same information? So, mukhang pang-apat na niyang inuulit na sinasabi. But dealing with students, kasi hindi naman lahat ng bata is fast learner. So because of multiple intelligences, so merong ibang bata is not hindi siya fast learners in the field of knowledge, so in the field of discussion. So but he or she can easily cope up if we will talk about skills. So kaya meron pa iba-ibang intelligence ng isang bata. So that's why we need to cope up with them by repeating the instructions, repeating in giving the information so that they can cope up. So all of them can cope up. So in behaviorism, so there is motivation. So if we will say motivation, it plays an important role in learning process. Second one is drills. So using patterns to help students see repetition and reinforcement. So during the behaviorism, so kasi learning to do is more about skills, right? So but in behaviorism, so meron siyang kaunting skill reinforcement so that the students can really understand the discussions. For example, if we will talk about history, so because I am a social studies major, so in order na mas ma-portray or mas maintindihan ng student ang sequence ng events, so we need to play role playing. So merong role playing na gagawin. So kasi mas boring kasi if we will talk about nagsasalita lang ang teacher sa harap. So without showing some visuals, so to gain students' attention. So that's why, so if sabihin natin na hindi sila nakikinig, so during the discussion, but through drills or having a role playing, so mas maintindihan nila ang sequence of events ng history. So aside from that, so if we will talk about in UMS, so especially if we will talk about economics, so we need to have role playing. So about sa ekonomiya. So sa pagtitinda ng isda, so what is it? In order for students to understand what is inflation, so for example, what is inflation? So kulang ang supply. So that is part of inflation. Tumataas ang presyo ng bilihin kasi kulang ang supply. So that is through that, so through role playing. So bakit mahal ang mga bilihin? So because kulang ang supply. So they can easily naintindihan nila what is inflation through role playing. But mahirap nila maintindihan if sasabihin lang through discussion ng teacher sa harap. So that's why drills is important. So the third one is question and answer. So use stimulus and answer in response. So that's why Q&A can help us also gain students' attention so during the learning process. For example, if during discussion, so before we'll start the lesson, so merong motivation yan, di ba? So if we will follow the lesson plan, so through motivation, so magbibigay tayo ng question and answer portion. So for example, is if we will say our topic is all about economics. So meron tayong gagawing puzzle dyan. So puzzle that pertains every letter of economics. So it is, for example, dito makikita ang kuan. Dito natin makikita ang pyramid kung saan ang mga dito inilibing ang mga pharaohs. So, saang bansa yun? Egypt. So, through using puzzles, so students can, nakukuha mo ng attention ng students kasi you are giving stimulus questions. So, those questions that pertains general knowledge. So next is guided practice. So that's why giving problems with teaching guidance is a great help so during the learning process. So kaya guided practice is very important. So during having role playing, so before magsimula ang role playing, so teachers should check first so kung meron mang tinatawag nating script ang estudyante. So in order to check if merong mali or merong if merong nakasulat doon na that will create misunderstandings also. And then the last one is regular reviews. So that's why during in behaviorism, so that's why we need to review so the previous lesson so that hindi makalimutan ng estudyante ang lesson. So that's why behaviorism it does not talks about positive reinforcement. Behaviorism talks about reinforcement. So that's why guided practice. So that is part of reinforcement, so that teachers can correct students' knowledge process in learning. So especially in doing skill-related activities that can help them learn. Motivation, that is part of reinforcement. So review, that is part of reinforcement. So that's why behaviorism, so the other term for behaviorism for me is reinforcement. So I do hope that you learned something about our discussion about the second main educational learning theory. So thank you for watching and God bless.